Alright, so this is a general quick guide on how I like to paint my orc models, orc boys or commandos, basically whatever kind of orc boy-like model you want to paint. It's a general set of guide steps on how to paint that are generic. I've had to use a commando in this painting guide because my boys were all too painted to go back and film, but yeah. So for this technique, you're really going to need to start with a zenithal undercoat. Now, you can probably achieve it with a rattle can, but an airbrush is best. It just really makes contrast paints work a lot better and is kind of the core basis of this entire speed painting technique. Unfortunately, in making this video, I broke my airbrush compressor nozzle when I was unclogging it, so yeah, it broke the thread off inside. So starting off, I'm using Plaguebearer flesh for all of the skin of my orcs. Now there is orc flesh, which I do have, but I prefer this more desaturated green for their skin. Now apologies in advance because this is my first time filming a video, and as you can see the focus is just all over the place and my hand likes to take up the entire frame. So I'm using a size 4 brush for nearly this entire model, and I do it for basically all of my speed painting. You'll find that you basically adjust it pretty quick when you're using it for speed painting. It's so much faster and it applies the contrast paints much more evenly and smoothly. See, like, what am I doing? What's he doing down there? He's so far away. I mean, all my other models are great and in focus, but and we have our first orc with his skin. So the second paint I'm using is Griffhound Orange for all of my cloth. Now this is to do with the fact that I'm basically giving all of my orcs different shirt colours based on their squad. So my commandos are orange, my combat boys have got red and they'll be yellow soon as well. So basically pick whatever colour here you want as your primary fabric. If you're going for goths, maybe you would just be going for a black shirt here, Blood Axe is red, I don't know, it's really up to you. So in a similar vein, I'm using Ballascanum Grey for my pants of my commandos. With my standard boys, I normally mix between a couple other colours, which I'll get to in a second, but for my commandos, I just use a grey and orange colour scheme, keep things simple. So for my standard boys and my orcs in general, I have 3 colours I like to use for cloth. It's Skeleton Horde, Snakebite Leather, and also I like to use Wildwood as well for darker leather. For my boys, I like to randomise what areas of the model are painted in these 3 colours. So sometimes the straps will be Wildwood, the pants will be Snakebite, maybe another time the boots will be Snakebite and the pants will be Skeleton Horde. In this example, I'm using Wildwood for the straps, Skeleton Horde for the bag, and Snakebite on some of the other details like the boots. And here I'm just touching up that little bit of orange you saw on the skin by using Lauren Forest to cover it up. It's a good enough match. So as I mentioned earlier, the Snakebite Leather is one of the other colours I use on my orcs as a primary kind of leather colour, often as boots, pants, basically whatever. So as I mentioned earlier, I like to mix these colours around on different models just to bring out a little bit of randomness even though they keep the same colour palette, so my boys look a little bit less organised but still cohesive. And once I'm done with the leathers, I move on to using Pale Sand for most of the bone, the fingernails and the teeth. And I also use Pale Sand to pick out any of the stitching. Quite a lot of the new orc models have them on like the backpacks or on pants or on their skin even. And then here I'm just quickly going in with some Wildwood to do these straps on the mask, as I hadn't really decided what to do with it yet. I then painted the mask using a thin down coat of Black Templar just to give it a dark colour, and then I picked out all the other little details in basically whatever colours I felt like at the time. Alright, now we're up to metallics. I've got 3 colours I like to use here. I like to use Scale 75's Dark Metal, Vallejo Game Colour Tinny Tin, and Model Colour Bronze. Now just like with the leathers, I like to randomise where I use these metallics on the models. For this one I'm using it for the blades and a couple of other small details, and then the other metallics get used for the other details, but sometimes I will completely mix that formula up. For example, here I'm using Tinny Tin to pick out a lot of the little armor plating kind of details around the model, whereas I've used the Dark Metal to pick out mostly blades and the barrel of the gun and some of the other small details. And I'm doing the same thing as well with the bronze, picking out other small remaining details. Basically just have some fun with it, play around, see what you like, And once you have all of your base coats done, the next step is to move on to varnishing and then the oil wash. So from this point onwards, I'm swapping to a model that I've already hit with the varnish and then the oil wash, just to save on drying times for the video, since you should leave the varnish for a good day maybe, and the oils for a couple of hours as well. So as you can see, the oil wash has toned the entire model down, really brought out all of the crevices and the detail. It's a really good step. It's basically liquid magic. Here's a pre-wash orc for comparison. And as a quick note, while using the white spirits in the oil wash, if you use an acrylic-based rust effect, it balls up in little spots and causes a really nice realistic rusting effect for basically no effort. Next up is dry brushing. I'm using Vallejo's pale sand and a large brush to achieve this, slightly damp and dabbing off on a non-porous material. Always test your dry brush on the base rim or something like that to check that you're getting the right amount off it that you want. As you can see, I'm sticking to the sharper edges first, the brightest highlights, because that's when you have the most paint in your brush and it makes sense. And then from there on, I just move on to smaller and smaller details. Use really light strokes here and attempt to just get the raised surfaces. You're not trying to leave any kind of chalky kind of streaks. You really just want to try and get the highest surfaces. I'm usually a little bit more rough on the skin itself. I'm effectively trying to skip the highlight stage using that. And from there, we're done. That's the dry brushing completed. And once you've picked out the eyes as well, that's about as far as I'd go with these models. Now, this video has been pretty disjointed. I've had to swap between models at different stages of completion based on the fact that I couldn't use my airbrush to zenithal or to varnish any models at that stage of the painting process. But honestly, these models probably take me around an hour each, maybe a little more to complete when being done in a group. After I filmed most of this footage, I managed to finish off the other 9 standard boys in the squad, all to the same standard, and I think all in all it probably took around 9 to 10 hours, not counting the extra time I've added by filming steps. So that's my relatively quick method of painting orc boys. I know that this video has been pretty disjointed, what with all the swapping between models due to the issues with the airbrush and not really knowing how to film a video and going back a billion times to film other little things. It's pretty bad, but I hope it gets the general guide across. I really enjoyed making this video, so I might make a couple more in the future if I feel like it. I can do some guides on when I get to the orc vehicles, and also I've got my Tau and other factions I paint that I'd be pretty keen to film some stuff for. Yeah, just leave a comment if you have any questions about how I did a certain thing, because I know I've definitely missed steps in this. It's probably very confusing, but I hope it does the job. So thanks for watching, and yeah, you might see something from me in the future.